Okay. So Maggie and Evan, if you wouldn't mind putting the link in the chat for us, I'm going to take a second and just kind of explain what this presentation is. So this presentation is, we've done it a couple times now, and it's called, oh my gosh, I wish everyone knew about this, a virtual share-a-thon. The idea is that people will share tips, tricks, hacks, some sort of strategy that works for them in their classroom, or maybe their thinking might work for them and want some feedback on. So I'm vamping here as we get the hyperlink bit.ly/shareathon 2021. If you'll put, you can click on that. You can type it in. You can also use the QR code and have a two-screen experience if you like. Some people like to have that. But this is, you want the slide deck because there's hyperlinks later on that you want that you'll want later on. One, to participate in the presentation, but then two, to take you to other resources beyond that as well. So everyone get this? Okay, let me jump out of here. Right. Everyone get that? Okay. So our staff facilitators today are me. Quick introduction. I am Chris Bouguet. I'm the Assistive Technology Specialist here for Loudoun County Public Schools, but I like to think of myself as an inclusive design facilitator, help educators design educational experiences that work for everybody. We also have Jean Garrett and Dr. Cindy Feist are helping with some of these, but I don't know, Jean, if you're going to stay for the whole time, or maybe if you even left because I can't see you right now, because we also have three student facilitators that are helping out today. The first one being Tucker Bouguet, who's a junior over at Loudoun Valley High School, hence why I'm wearing the Vikings hat during the presentation today. Want to say hi, Tucker?
Hi.
And then we've got two 8th graders over at Harmony Middle School, which is Maggie Bouguet and Evangeline Wilcox. Say hi, Maggie.
Hi, I've been stuck in a room. I'm going to go out real quick. The door is stuck, so I'll be right back.
They're going to be helping us out today, keeping us on track and facilitating and just helping generally have everything move pretty smoothly. So the point of this particular presentation is to think of some strategy, a tip, a tool, some sort of hack, something that you found really helpful for yourself, or like I said, that you're thinking about using. That's all good. And then we're going to bring you up onto screen. You're going to share your screen, and you're going to present whatever that tool, tip, hack might be. You have approximately 3 minutes or less to share. Now, if you go 4 minutes, you know, we're not going to be ogres about it. You know, you can just, but the idea is to keep it moving so that the next person can have an opportunity to share, and we'll just keep rotating through. And the way we're going to keep that organized is by putting your name in the chat. So you can just type something like, I can share, or you can type your name, you know, Emma can go next, you know, and just type that in the chat. And that's what Evan and Maggie are going to monitor. They're going to keep that track of the chat. So if we want to put other comments in the chat, we can. But that's Maggie and Evan's job, is to call you up and say, all right, the next one up is Jean. She's going to share. Next one up is Miss Nelson. She's going to share. And we'll just roll through that until our hour is up. Right? That's not all. What people have been doing as well is they've been sharing this entire, so we just did an hour of this presentation. We're doing another hour right now, and there'll be an hour after this. And we're sharing all of those resources on the super mega awesome Share-A-Thon Google Sheet, right? And so when I click on that, you'll see that it opens up this Google Sheet. And here are the people that presented this past hour, right? And the strategy or tool that they shared, the platform that it might be on, and then they talk about the implementation idea. Now, this is what Tucker is doing as our facilitator, is he's typing in the names of the people and the tool with a hyperlink, and then we can go back afterwards and we can type in the implementation idea. But you all have access to this spreadsheet. You can all edit it right now. You'll see there's a tab down here from the last time we did this. This you cannot edit, it's locked. But this tab, you all have editing rights. So you can go over here and you can add additional strategies. You know, let's say Miss Nelson is sharing something, and you know, Miss, I forget all the names. Emma says, you know what? I use that tool too, but I use it in a different way. You can go and add that as an implementation idea, or add something over here in the spreadsheet. It's good. It's a little chaotic, but it's okay. We want it to be that way. We want it to be sharing. I can always go back and clean it up after the fact, right? So you have editing rights to share in the super mega awesome Share-A-Thon Google Sheet. Please do that. Feel free. You're not going to break anything. You're encouraged to go in there and type, right? Yes, it's living a little dangerously that we're giving everybody access to this spreadsheet. It's okay. That's what revision history is for, and we'll clean it up afterwards. Here is the links. If you're participating, you can go and click right over here to get your credit, you know, that you participated. It takes you right to the Google form, or you can go back to the Schedule and do it that way. And without further ado, we're going to jump into the sharing part of things. Let me get back over here and hit stop sharing. Go ahead and put your name in the chat if you haven't already done so. That's my little orientation. All right, Evan and Maggie, are you keeping track?
Yep.
Who are we inviting to come on down? Who's coming up first?
No one. Oh, Stacy can share.
Way to get the ball rolling, Stacy. Way to go.
Hey, so I know a lot of educators have been starting to use Canva, even though some schools have Canva locked or closed down. But if you are creating presentations for your kiddos, I just put a link in here to get the Canva for Educators account, which is free, but there's multiple steps that you have to go through in order to get that. So it takes a little bit of time. I highly recommend Canva for Educators. The additional free resources will make your life easier when you're creating presentations.
Dad, you're muted.
Stacy, I could be wrong here, but I think we have Canva. Like, I think LCPS purchased it like sometime during the school year.
Well, we have it, but I just was on another session where they said Canva was blocked at their school. So I don't know if that's true for the kids that it's blocked. I know we as educators can use it. So I've heard some mixed things about that. So I'm not quite sure where we are as a county with it.
Okay, good to know. I know to ask your IFT. Your IFT will know. All right, Maggie, Evan, don't feel like you have to wait for me. If you see the next name, just unmute and tell us.
Emily?
So I actually saw this one earlier in an earlier session I had, and I got really excited about it. I was a 5th grade hybrid teacher this year, so of course we were in and out some, but I'll share my screen really quick. It is the Discovery Education. See, there we go. The Discovery Education that we actually have access, which I think too, maybe because we were all learning this year, I had no idea this was on our LCPS Go page. This I thought was so awesome. This website has virtual field trips. It has videos in so many different things. Apparently Discovery Education has a partnership with the NBA. So there was a virtual field trip of one of their big tournaments and stuff. This is one that I found that I really liked. So I actually, my family lives out in Western Loudoun, and I actually went to Valley too. So yay, go Vikings. But my family has a 15-acre farm, and we raise sheep and chickens, and we have some dogs and cats and stuff. One like this, I work out at Arcola out, southeast. So my kids do not know as much about the farm life as some of my friends did as I was growing up or myself. So I thought this one was really cool. The kids you could do it synchronously, you could do it asynchronously. This was just a really fun one that I wanted to share.
Thanks for sharing, Emily. I've been in the district a while now, and I remember we used to have discovery education, and then for a while we didn't. And so now getting it back and other people using it, like even having the keynote from that is such a great thing because of just exactly how you described it being used. Like, it's so useful. I'm so glad that it's back, you know.
Felix.
Hi there. I have something, it's not like a huge technological advancement, but it's something that drives me a little bit crazy whenever I'm doing presentations. Hold on one second. So I hate whenever I go to make a presentation and I want to insert a picture, for instance, and let's do, for instance, I'm just going to insert this Bitmoji I have, and I can't stand that it's got like all of these things here. Do you see how like the white background is there? I really cannot stand the white background. So the website that I have used all the time is remove.bg. So remove.bg. You can just upload an image. You can drag it here. So if you just upload an image again, I'm just going to pick this one. It removed the white background from the back of the picture, which is great. So now if you can just copy it. You can press Control-C. I'll just also just copy here. And now when I paste it, it's removed the background. The nice thing is there is an editor mode. The kids really like this because then you can always put backgrounds behind the pictures. You can also do things that are like more artsy. There are places like it has backgrounds of cities too. You can also do some things with color if you want to do like a color background, or if you want it to blend in. So if I want it to be black in the background, so it would blend with this background I have here. You can also decide if you want to restore some parts of it. So right now it erased everything, but if I want to press the restore button, I can always restore parts of the white background if I really want to. That's sometimes helpful if you're doing logos. And that's just a really quick thing on just removing white background from pictures.
Felix, that is awesome. Remove BG. I'm going to jump the line here, Evan and Maggie, because I'm going to stick with Felix's strategy there, and I'm going to give another tool that is similar but works with videos and GIFs. So, mind if I
go for it?
Because this is straight. I just love that strategy. So, here is a website called unscreen.com, and when you click on this little, when you go to Unscreen and you click on this upload clip, it takes you to here where I can upload a clip. Let me go into my downloads. Here's a little video of my wife. And you note in the background, we had like, you can kind of see it a little bit. There's like Christmas tree and all sorts of, all sorts of kind of garbage back there. Well, now it's just her jamming with Groot. It only gives you 5 seconds, but oftentimes that's all you need for the little GIF that you might be wanting to make. And then you don't, the background. Then, of course, you can change the background. Like if we got Groot, of course, Groot's from outer space. So we go down here and choose like this kind of background, or maybe this with the asteroids. Do you know what I mean? In the background. Again, only 5 seconds, but great for video. Cool stuff. All right, who's next? Maggie?
I will comment on that. I love that. I use it all the time for like if I'm doing art and I put it into school. I use it all the time. Both of the sites. Aine is next. Aine Gallagher.
Hi everyone. I'm Anya Gallagher. I teach 7th grade science at Smartsmill, and there's 2 things that I've really enjoyed using this year. The county's purchased Remind, and some of you guys may have used it as parents for your kids, or you guys might use it with your own classes, but it's a really helpful tool for sending messages out. Since it is through the county, it actually already loads your class rosters from Phoenix, from the gradebook. So all of the contact information is already logged, but it's a way for you to send messages out to your class and your students. I've also used it as a coach to communicate with my teams and my athletes and their parents. So for example, this is my cross country page. It's very easy for me to send out messages to everyone. Like if there's a weather delay and things like that, I can immediately let them know what's going on. It also saves your files for you if you sent links. So it's very easy to go back and view files that you've sent out before. You can do calls, and you can also have like, for me, I've set it up so my athletes can message me. So if they have a question, they can let me know, or if somebody forgets something at a meet or anything, I can message them and say, hey, I have your hat, or I found your shoes, and things like that. So Remind is an awesome tool that is pretty new to the county, having them purchase it. I have it as an app on my phone, and that's how I usually use it, is just on my cell phone. But it is actually in LCPS now as well. So it's very easy to use the online version too. And it doesn't give out any of your personal phone numbers, so you don't have to worry about that. It's all very secure. So yeah, that's Remind.
Wow, thank you. That's really cool. Sorry for mispronouncing your name. Michelle is next.
Okay, I am trying to figure out how to multitask here without my two screens. I am an elementary school counselor, and I did a lot of like counselor lunch connections when we were distance learning. And one of the programs I used was Bamboozle. And I go here, I'm trying to share. We do not have, I don't have the paid version, but if you go on, you can use just the free version. There are lots of games and things that have been created on this app for you to use. So it was really great. There was like scavenger hunts and challenges and quizzes and trivia, and the kids really liked it. I would caution you to kind of check out some of the questions before you play it, just to make sure that they're appropriate. But it's a really great one that I thought, you know, you could use.
Nice, thank you. I don't think anyone else is on the roster right now.
Cool. Chelsea Hilts.
Wrong one. Hi. So this one's super easy. It's probably made, I just kind of made it up one day. So I do a lot of digital breakouts, but I also think it's super important to keep our kids moving around. And I think this is a kind of a fun way to make Google Forms interactive in movement and not just doing Google Forms all the time, especially with the kids coming back to school next year. So one thing I did for a breakout activity, sorry, I'm not having two screens is really challenging. I actually made a QR code scavenger hunt. So these shapes were printed out in colors, and then I pasted them around the classroom, and each QR code took you to a Google form. So I listed them here by color because they were shapes for quadrilaterals. So there's the blue parallelogram that they had to find. And in each scavenger hunt, they had to answer a Google form question. So they scanned the QR code, took them to the question. If they got it right, it told them, or I'm sorry, if it got it wrong, it said try again. And if they got it right, it gave you the clue to go to the next QR code around the room. So basically they were just doing a simple Google form, but instead of just sitting there taking a Google form, they were moving around the room, looking for the attributes of quadrilaterals for all their shapes, looking at colors. They were able to go like in the hallway and around, and they were just sitting at a desk the whole time, but it's still a digital activity, so it's a little bit more engaging. I know not everything can be paper pencil, especially if we're trying to get them off that next year a little bit with this whole DL situation. So it's just a fun way to make a Google form a little more interesting.
Love that, Chelsea. So if you hadn't seen Chelsea and Emma's session earlier about flipped classroom, so Chelsea, same idea here is so often I think when we're designing our educational experiences, we think, okay, what can I do to get them up and moving so that it's a break from their seat time? And I just wonder, what if we reframe that? What if we turned it or flipped it, if you will, and said, man, what can I do to get them in their seat to take a break from all the moving that they've done? You know what I mean? They're up and moving all the time. Man, I got to plan a break somewhere in there because they need to sit down. You know, anymore they have the option to sit down. Chelsea, quick follow-up question. What do you use to make the QR code? What's
Oh yeah,
the
sorry,
website?
didn't present that. Honestly, I just searched QR code generator on Google, clicked the first one, and put the link. So I've used a few random ones because it always lists it differently, but I'm all about I did a quick Google search. This time it was literally called QR code generator, and it looks green. I could present it if you want me to. But it's super easy. All you do is literally copy the shared link from the Google form and you paste it here. So like here. Copy, and then you go to your generator and paste it. So if you were in my session, you also had the QR code. So now I just copy and paste that QR code into that picture and I'm all done.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Maggie, Evan?
Emma's first, and then we'll jump back to Felix.
Hi, I'm going to present real quick conditional formatting on Google Sheets. You can use it for a lot of things, but I like this for formatives for quick collection of data. So this has a formative that some of my students took this year. And you'll see I already started color coding just to kind of show you what it would look like, but I'll do one to show you how it works. What I like to do is sort it by block first. So a trick that I've learned when it's kind of like, it gets jumbled by the end of the day when people are submitting things late. If you select everything, go to data and then sort range, you get more options. So you can do data has header row, and then you can sort it by what you want. So I usually sort by block first, and then add a second sort column that goes by last name. Now I took their actual last names out of this for privacy, but it then sorts it alphabetically by block for me, which is really nice. And then from there, I format it by question. So you can see this first kid, Noah, he got a 5 out of 5. So I know that his answer of 74 is correct. So what I usually do is just copy the content of that cell. Or if I'm making this ahead of time, I can just say, well, I know the answer is 74. You select the entire column, go to format, conditional formatting, and you apply it to the range. So I have it on my whole column G, and I'm going to say text is exactly, or text is equal to. I teach math, so numbers, I usually do the number 1 is equal to there. And it defaults to green. And then you can see that the blank ones obviously didn't get it right, but if you want to make them red, you would just add a second rule and say text is not equal to. Paste that in and then change the fill to whatever color you want. And then it pops in there. So you can see that that is now showing for that. If you want to get rid of the question 1 showing up, you just change your range to start at G2, and then it takes away the header. So that's conditional formatting to get that quick data.
All right, now back to Felix.
Okay, I want to show another thing that's in LCPS Go. It's Adobe Spark. I don't know if anybody's used Adobe Spark before. Hold on 1 second. The hardest part about getting into Adobe Spark is actually getting into Adobe Spark. That's what I found, is that a lot of people, it's signing in correctly. If you sign in with your Google account, it's going to say it's not there. So you have to sign in using your short email address. But once you're in, there's a lot of great things that the students can actually create. The students can do this themselves. The one that we use a lot is the web page function. So students can create web pages to turn in as we're moving towards portfolios. We have students that create at the beginning of the year work that demonstrated what they were as a student last year. And then each quarter we put up their project that they have the most pride in, and then they can turn their web pages in. It's also great whenever we do IEP meetings at the end of the year. Students can show the progress as they go through some of their goals. The kids really like to make the Instagram posts on there as well. They can do that, but it's all built in with some different templates already made. So if I just show you one of these for web pages. So it's, again, starting with the title. Students can then add whatever they need to, or if you'd like to do this yourself, you can. It's sort of an alternative to making a Google site, but this is built into the Adobe suite, so teachers can sign in through their Adobe account, but all these things are there and pretty straightforward. You can do photos, text, you can put buttons, videos, you can do a grade of photos, which is nice. The one that we use a lot is a split layout, so students can sometimes have work on one side and then a description on the other. We have the students talking about owning their work, taking pride in their work on the other side. So just a real quick thing, but it's all in there under Adobe Spark and LCPS Go.
No one's in the queue right now, but we both have one that we can share real quick. We both thought of Padlet. Yeah, a lot of people have used it, and we both really love it.
A lot of teachers do use Padlet already, but there are a bunch of different things you can use it for, like turning in assignments, sharing work with the class. My history teacher last year now, that sounds really weird to say. He used to use it for a warm-up to get everybody like excited for history class, which worked. And it's just overall a really great domain to use, and I really enjoyed it. Maggie really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I know a lot of students loved it. By the end, people were seeing less of it, which kind of made me sad, but it opened up a lot of new doors for a lot of new websites. Jean has one.
Oh, continue if you want to keep.
No, we're good.
So I didn't realize that not many people knew this until I started doing my organization presentation. But in Google Drive, there's a cool feature called Priority and Workspaces. So stop me if you all are like, oh, that's like old news. But when I log in to my Google Drive, I have it automatically open in priority, which you can set in your settings. But so priority does at the very top kind of everything that you've recently been in. So like here's the presentation that we're in now because I was recently in that and still am. My organization presentation, my documentation, my background, things like that. But you can also create these really cool workspaces down here. It's kind of like a step up from the starred, if you ever use the starred. And you know, you click that little star in any of your Google stuff, but I don't know about yours, but mine got out of control because you can't really organize that one. And so I started having a hard time finding stuff and was constantly using search. And then Google came out with this priority and then workspaces. And the cool thing about workspaces is it's kind of like a visual folders kind of, where it kind of holds links. So you click create and then you can give it a title. So we'll do practice. And it creates your workspace. So it's going to show up probably at the end right here. There it goes. Taking a little time. But it also will pop up this as soon as you create it. And you can start adding files this way. So it can pull up things that you were most recently in. Or you can choose other files. You can also, if you're in a file or like you have that file up here, you can click the 3 dots and tell it to add to workspace and that you can add it. It'll also show you if it's already in a workspace. But what's really neat about this is if you're like me where I've got my own drive and then we have our CIFAT drive and then we have I have a drive for LWAC stuff and I have a couple other shared drives. This, you can add things from other drives into one easy spot. So you don't have to keep clicking between like my drive and then go over here to the CIFAT drive and to find stuff. So you can add like in my general AT, I have stuff that's mine, that's in our other drives and things like that. So it helps keep me organized. And then I like them in a certain order. So that's why they're numbered. Another hint instead of, because it automatically puts it in ABC order. So that's pretty much it.
Chelsea?
So I have a second share, and that's going off the conditional formatting. This one's a little bit more complicated, but I have been obsessed with them this school year. So I'm a math teacher, and I'm all about finding self-checking activities. So I learned how to format the conditional formatting to make pixel mystery. So this is how it ends up. And just like Emma showed in her conditional formatting, you're picking the cells you want to change colors, and you're saying what the answer will be here. And I'll explain that in a second because it'll make more sense. So what happens is it starts out as this blank image, and as the students type in the correct answers, it makes the picture appear. But if they would type the answer wrong, nothing would appear. And it's just like a fun way to see if like they got it right. So like if you click on the box, and you can obviously cheat if you look at the conditional formatting, but normally most people don't know how to do this. If you type in -32, the answer was really -33, so the picture wouldn't appear. And the box turns green. I'm unmuted, right? Oh yeah, okay. Sorry, that's weird for a second. The box turns green if they get it right. So it's just like a fun way, especially like this one was for students that were higher and were more ready to move on, of something like kind of fun for them to do as they went through and solve the math problems. This is for evaluating expressions. But while you do to format it is, I think my plan for next year is like the picture is the longest part, but I'm going to have my students, I think, make pictures. Like if they're done early, make a digital picture so that I can use theirs, so they can kind of have ownership in these activities. And then format it. So these problems on the side are just screenshots. And then all you have to do to format it is you pick the boxes that would change colors. So the boxes that would become this green color, and then you select the cell that you want it to be typed into. So this is D21 is that cell. So it looks a little complicated. If somebody wants me to explain it more, I can, but it's just like a fun way for them to get a fancy picture and get it checked, and they can work on an activity from that.
There is also a Facebook group that has all of those pre-made, and you can actually go on there and just take their ideas, because they share them with everybody, and you can take their ideas and just change it, because most of them come out as math problems. And I'm a culinary arts teacher, and I changed it all around and turned it into culinary arts terms for my kids to do. So you can change it to anything as long as you're following, like she showed, the codes that they have. But if you don't want to reinvent the wheel with making these pictures, even though I like the idea of the students doing it, you can go on, and it's called, I believe it's called Pixel Art Mysteries for Education or something on Facebook, and they share everything.
So one thing to be careful with whenever you're typing your answers is they have to type it exactly how you have it set as the answer. So like if you were doing fractions, I did one for converting or comparing and ordering fractions, decimals, percents. If they put everything into decimal, you need to make sure that's like an answer choice, or like specify like there's spaces in the words if you're doing vocab, because it has to be typed how you've set it to be. But it's just a fun thing. It's good for vocab. I could see it for a lot of languages too.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. While people are thinking about what their next tip, trick, strategy, hack, I'll do one. Yes, we are recording this, and then I'm going to put it up on YouTube. So I hope that's okay with everybody. I didn't say that explicitly. I just assumed that was okay with everybody. So I'm going to share one that I think if you were here for the last hour, then I apologize as a repeat, but I think most people are new here. So let me share my screen real quick, and I'll show you this little tool. So you might be already familiar with Read and Write for Google Chrome, and it's an extension that any teacher or student can have access to. But this particular, so here I went to a website. Maybe this is a website that I want my students to visit. Maybe they're doing some sort of research, they're reading about it, whatever. This just happens to be a Google site, and this is on inclusive design, right? But when my students get here and they're going to read that content, maybe it's really distracting because of all of the colors, or maybe this video is distracting, or just the formatting of it is something that, for whatever reason, does not sit well with them. Or maybe the font is off, like they would prefer a different font. So what you can do with Read and Write, this particular extension, is if you click on it, it opens up this toolbar. And what Read and Write primarily does is you can have the text read out loud. But what a lot of people don't know is this little tool over here where you can click on it. It's called the Simplify page, and it strips away all of the formatting, and it just leaves it on a black and white. Or if you wanted to invert it, you could, change the color schemes here quickly to whatever is visually appealing to that particular student, meaning the student is the one who's doing this. You're not doing it for all students, and of course, unless you're displaying it for all students. The students themselves are on that website, and when they're independently looking at that website, they can view the same content as their peers, but looking at it with a different visual presentation. They can change the font size if they want to by scrolling it up and down, but not just the size, they can actually change the font. So they could use the Open Dyslexic. No, hold on, let me change it to this font so you can see, and then I can change it over here to the Open Dyslexic font. I could open it to the Trebuchet font. Whatever works for me as a student, I could, and you as an educator could then give feedback, you know, talk to a student. What font did you find works best for you, is most visually appealing for you? And so there's all sorts of different, you can change the spacing, you know, all sorts of different ways that you can manipulate the text to make it work based on your preferences. Good stuff? Or was that old news? Oh, Chris, come on. Nail that back to 2020 when I needed it.
Lindsay Fitzgerald.
Hi, sorry, my camera's being a little wonky, so I'm just leaving that off and basically being like one of my students this past year. But first, Chris, that's awesome. I've heard so many great things about the Read and Write extension and really haven't tapped into that. So I'm looking forward to looking at that. And the Pixel presentation just blew my mind. I'm already trying to stalk the Facebook group. So thank you so much for that. So this is very, very silly. I don't even know if it's a hack. It's more so about just contributing to our classroom culture. I used it a lot for distance learning, so I'm not sure if it's really going to translate too much into more in-person learning. And I was given this this site from one of our amazing librarians at the school that I'm at, and all it is a teacher sound effect board. So I could share it right now. Many of you guys have probably already seen this. This is probably old information. I'm already forgetting how to share my screen just a few days out of distance learning. But basically you can just bookmark it, and I used it just, you know, as something to create fun classroom culture with. I really enjoyed the air horn personally, but there's, you know, a siren. The Law and Order Dun Dun one is great, especially if a student has a really thought-provoking idea, and their mind is blown a little bit. So I was trying to find, because I want to give credit where credit is due. I believe it's resourced from this original site. So I'll put the original site from this blog in chat just to make sure that that person gets their credit. But yeah, just a fun thing to transition between activities, or just to individualize and personalize your reactions with your students.
That is so cool, Lindsay. I love that. So in the same way that when you shared an audio clip here, in the same way that Felix was showing us earlier about the remove background, I'm going to do the same thing here. Well, I guess there's not a line. I'm just going to share another tool that I like that is similar but different, because these are quick little sound bites, right? So some way to provide ambient background noise or music that students could select themselves is something called tabletop audio, because oftentimes teachers will play like a YouTube video in the background. But if you haven't used tabletop audio, let me show you real quick. So tabletop audio, when you go here, it's often used as background noise in role-playing games, but I just downloaded this one, Skyship. I can play it right here on my screen, or I can save it. You can see I hit the save button and it downloads. Then I can put my MP3 and I can put it where I want it. And I don't know if you can hear it because I'm not sharing my tab, but it's playing this awesome like background music that I can add either to my video project or just play in my class as background music as my students are working. Emma, I bet people don't know it.
Okay, so real quick, actually I should do window. On a Google slide, obviously most of us probably know the forced copy of Google Docs. However, and I'm just doing this one that we presented earlier because it was open. If you take the share link and copy it, you can paste it into wherever you want and change the end. And if you take out the part where it says edit ? USP = sharing, delete that and just type copy. that forces a copy. So you can give this link directly with a copy in it to a student and it'll force a copy real quick. So that's useful for things that I don't really want to make a whole assignment in Schoology, but I want them to have their own copy of like a draggable activity or something like that. But another cool one is if you get rid of the edit part and change it to present, it directs you right into the present mode. So if you don't want the kids to have all the distractions of like the editing bars on the side and you're just sharing them like a note slide or something, whatever you need, it'll go directly into present mode, which is really cool.
All right, I guess I'll go again to give people a chance to think about what they want to share. So this is one that is it's another read and write one, but I think a lot of people sleep on this particular feature, so I want to show it again. I'm going to go, I know I'm not sharing my screen yet, but you don't need to see this yet because you all know how to get to a Google Doc. I'm going to open up Google Docs, and then I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Back here, share my screen. Okay, when I hit the read and write button, right, what I'm going to do, so this doesn't have anything to do with read and write first. It's just a strategy I really like to use. Okay, what I just made is a table, right? Insert table. And this might be my topic sentence. And this could be detail 1. And this would be detail 2. And this would be detail 3. Right? And this would be my conclusion. And what I've just done is I made a little bit of a graphic organizer, and I could copy and paste that over and over and over again. But something that read and write allows you to do in Google Docs is that if I use this kind of text as like an anchor, I can go over here and I can hit my record button. And this will give me an option where I'm now recording my voice. It's not typing it out. It's not speech to text. It's just audio recording. So I hit stop. Hit insert. I know it's a little hard to see, but it's thinking, it's doing this color thing, and it's sending that that into a voice comment over here on the right. And I could go, so let's say I recorded my topic sentence, and then I could record detail 1 by doing the same thing. Hurricanes are windy. Hit insert, and it'll make another voice comment. So, and then when this is shared, I can just hit the play button. So that is how I share voice comments, or how students can make voice comments. Now, 2 quick uses there is one, students can get their thoughts out without seeing it be typed, because sometimes the speech to text is not always accurate, and that can be frustrating. 2, if you're just practicing speech to text and you're not practicing typing in, every minute that you're using speech to text and you're not typing in is 1 less minute you're building the motor plans for the keyboarding, right? And so this way students can still use their strength, their verbal strength, to get their thoughts out, get all of their thoughts out, and then go back and type it in. And then, of course, what teachers have used it for is, this is a great way to put, if you've ever wanted to provide audio instructions, like, well, here's Miss Weber reading the instructions to you, or you want to hear what Miss Weber has to say, like, click on the link, and there's Miss Weber describing whatever the instructions might be. Miss Cochran. All right, well, now you know the easier way, right? Cool. Now, it only does work with Google Docs. There is actually something you can do in OneNote that's similar, which is not through read and write. OneNote has the same ability. And then Jean, you can do this with Google Keep as well. You can record your audio that way as well. That, in Google Keep, it will sync your speech to text and your audio together. So if it's like, oh, I'm not sure what that word is, it didn't come out right, the speech to text didn't work right, my last name, it constantly butchers my last name, I can hit the play button, it'll listen back to my recording and be like, oh, bouquet, that's how you say that word. Makes sense? Was that enough vamping? Did people come up with some other strategies or tools they want to share?
Miss Gallagher has something about Jamboards.
Yeah, I'm not sure if anyone talked about Jamboards yet, but they're a really fun way to have students kind of collaborate together. It would be difficult to do, I think, for a project just because they all have editing access and you wouldn't want to lose data, but it's a really fun way to start off a lesson and get them kind of engaged with prior knowledge. So they can add sticky notes. Like this one, we were starting the animal kingdom and I wanted my students to add any crazy facts they had about animals. And they got very into it and came up with all sorts of crazy animal facts. Kangaroos can't fart, apparently. But they love all of these, being able to collaborate with this, especially when they don't need to, they can kind of do it anonymously without needing to attach their name. So it's a good way to engage their prior knowledge. I also used it as a whiteboard, which was really helpful with the distance learning setting because if I had tried to write on my physical whiteboard, like I didn't know if it would flip the image, and it was kind of hard to get it my camera close enough without me bumping into it with writing things. But it was very easy for me to do this with students when talking about like Punnett squares because I could use the pen feature and create Punnett squares in the distance learning setting, and they would all be able to see it clearly presented for them. It's kind of like the whiteboard .fio. But I used it as a whiteboard setting too. So it's very nice because it's a Google app, so it's very easy to access. Like if you go to your Drive and press the new button and then more, you can access Google Jamboard just like that. And it will open up a new one. One thing that's a really nice feature that's new for Google Jamboard is that you can set a background for the slide. So if you wanted graph paper, now every time you go to you can set it as a background to be used continuously. And they've also created this feature, which is new, that you can add your own image. So for example, on my animal slide, the Animal Kingdom one, I had to insert this picture separately every time, which was kind of frustrating, and the students could move it around on the screen. But now you can set it as the background so that they can't move what you set the background to be if they're all in there editing at once. So that's it.
Emily says that she also has something for Jamboards.
So this may be something that if you're like I guess maybe 3 to 5 teacher, you may have already seen this, but I'll share it anyway. This was from actually the reading department. I got this from I think Jen Hydery shared this with us, but this is they're already set up Jamboards. I'll share it too. Here we go. I haven't done presenting and stuff in a while. I forgot a little bit, I think, how. But this page goes through like some things that we did. And this was for DL mostly, but I was thinking about doing some of this that I used to do on paper. Let's just make it digital for next year. So this has a bunch of different Jamboard like setups. They're already done for you, and then you can go on there and just make a copy of them. Hopefully that's helpful.
Awesome. All right. In the idea of book clubs, I wanted to share a quick. I'm not going to share my screen because you don't need to actually see it, but I'm going to put this link in the chat. I know that it's such a great summer strategy as well as the strategy I'm about to talk about. It's such great for parents as who are asking, what can I do with my students? What can I do over the summer? Or what can I do to extend the learning throughout the school year? And I just am a huge fan of podcasts. We listen to podcasts as a family all the time. And find something that you're passionate about and listen to the podcast about it. Removes that stress of reading, where you can kind of just listen to it and then have conversations about it as a family. So here's just a list of 25 free podcasts. Most podcasts are free, that are just like if we listen together, we can now discuss, you know, and we can talk about. And those are like 25 really good ones, but there's some other lesser known ones that I'm a big fan of. One of them is, I'll just, for the next couple seconds here, I'll just put a bunch of links in the chat to other podcasts, like the Radio Adventures Dr. Floyd. Chuck, remember the Radio Adventures of Dr. Floyd?
Yeah.
Right, which is this.
Those are good stories.
Right, those are good, right? So I'll put some of those in the chat. These final resources that you should know about before you go is that where can you extend your learning? We want to invite you to subscribe to the Inclusive Design blog. If you haven't, it's one strategy a week that we use here in LCPS. You can, of course, go back and you can look at all the strategies that we've had, because it comes out every Friday, and it's just one little tip, like text simplification. Like I just mentioned, here's a little video about it. How to get text read out loud to help with reading comprehension. So it's not too overwhelming. We invite you to subscribe. Just go to that link and click the subscribe button. If you'd ever want to write a blog post for us, we're always accepting. You can email me at chris.bouguet@lcps.org. Of course, that's also the first link, or, you know, in my contact information is 1 in the sketch, and then 2 also in the slide deck. So